Hey guys, it's Arissa. Welcome back to my channel. It is time for the second color in the fall color series for the year, and we're focusing on copper eyeshadows. I have 5 products here that can help you achieve a fall copper eye, and I'm someone that usually prefers a cool toned makeup look, so this was a challenge for myself. I wanted to find some ways to pull in some copper in a wearable way, so I hope you guys enjoy this, and if you have your own suggestions for copper looks, please leave them in a comment below. The first product I'm mentioning here is an eyeshadow palette by BareMinerals, and this is their Gen Nude Copper Eyeshadow Palette, and it comes with 6 shadows, 3 mattes, 3 shimmers. They all blend beautifully on the eye, and I love that this is a copper eyeshadow palette, but they incorporated an olive green with shimmer to give it a little bit more variety, so you can try different looks with this palette. The one thing I will say in terms of application is with the shimmers, I prefer applying them with the finger versus a flat shadow brush. You can build it up with a flat shadow brush, but I've just noticed that it applies really sheer. So if you want a dramatic effect, I suggest just going in with the finger and it applies beautifully. You could go in with a wet brush too, but otherwise it's a beautiful palette. I'm so happy that I got it. I really recommend this for fall. This is the Born to Run palette by Urban Decay, and although this really gives you a summer vibe, I wanted to mention this because it could also transition very well into the fall and give you some great fall looks, especially a copper themed look. There are 2 shades in here that kind of give you that copper vibe. One is Accelerate and then Ignite, but I'll be swatching Ignite next to the other coppers because it looks really similar to the one from BareMinerals. I mentioned before that this is a really good quality eyeshadow palette that I recommend. You can get some great cool tone looks with this, then you can go really fall over here. The copper in here is really similar to the one from BareMinerals, and this applies well with your finger or with a flat shadow brush. You can go either way. A beautiful palette, and I wanted to mention it for fall video because a lot of times when we see the new palettes coming out for fall and for the holiday season, it's easy to forget about the ones that we were enjoying in the summer, but you can really come up with some great fall looks with this one. Now we're moving into more of the affordable, I don't want to say drugstore because Morphe and ColourPop aren't drugstore, but more of that drugstore price range. The first one is going to be the single Super Shock eyeshadow from ColourPop, and this is in the shade Sequin. So ColourPop does describe this as a copper, but it does pull more pink. So I'm going to swatch it here next to the other 2, and you can see that it pulls more pink than the others. So if you want to go for something a little bit more pink than orange, then I would recommend Sequin. I have 2 other Super Shock eyeshadows that I really enjoy, so I've been wanting to try another one, and the fall color series was a great way for me to incorporate a new shade into my collection. And if you want to add a little bit more dimension to any of the other copper shadows that I'm mentioning here, it's easy to just plop this right on the lid. You could also put this just all over the lid and nothing else if you want a beautiful wash of copper on the lid. And in here it does have silver glitter, and I've had no issues with fallout with these Super Shock eyeshadows. This next one is a new eyeshadow formula for my collection, and this is the Flower Beauty Wanderlust palette in Austin. They have 3 different palettes to choose from, and the Austin palette really spoke to me for fall. This copper is really creamy and easy to blend in with your finger. I like to apply this with the finger, and it comes with these other rusty shades, or more of an orangey yellow for the crease, and then this rusty shade, it's also a matte. These 2 are matte. A lime, a midnight blue, this light highlight shade. It has a peachy undertone, and I use this in my inner corner and also on my brow bone. I think this is a fun palette to have to pair with a more traditional eyeshadow palette for fall. If you are not interested in having this as a standalone palette, this is a good one to incorporate with the ones that you may already have. I noticed with this that you really have to tap off the excess eyeshadow before applying this to your eye. So if you're taking a fluffy brush and going in with these mattes over here, not only should you maybe tap off the excess into a tissue, but also tap off the brush a little bit directly onto the tissue, and a lot will come off, and then you can still apply a good amount of pigment onto your eye. I've just noticed that these are extremely powdery, a lot of kick up happening, but I still like them because they blend really well and you still get some color on your eye. That's just what I've noticed personally, so something to keep in mind. And with the shimmer eyeshadows, I definitely recommend going in with your finger and not a brush. I just don't think it applies well at all when you're using a flat shadow brush with the shimmer shades. I used this earlier this week and I really liked it. Just know that you have to tap off the excess extremely well before applying the mattes, and then with the shimmers, use your finger and not a brush. But everyone's different. If you found a way to apply these directly with a brush, that's great. Maybe if you also wet your brush, that will apply really well, but I just go in dry and I prefer applying these with my fingers. The shimmer eyeshadows, not the mattes. And the last palette I'm mentioning here is the Morphe 25A Copper Spice palette, and it's the one that I use for a majority of my look today. I really like this palette. You get 25 shades for a really good price. This shade right here is what I would consider to be the true copper that I will be swatching alongside the other ones from the other palettes. Here is the Morphe Copper shade, and it's probably the deepest out of the 5, but of course they're all very similar. And if you're like me, where you don't really like going for a warm eyeshadow look like a copper, you have some cool tone eyeshadows in here to really pair it together nicely to neutralize the look a little bit more and not make it look so warm on the eye. And I'm not one to typically go for a copper look like this, so it might not be the best one out there, but I'm trying. I wanted to challenge myself, not just talk about the eyeshadows that I always use and love. I do use this often, but I don't always use this particular copper shade often. I like some of the other ones in here. These eyeshadows do blend really well. I like being able to use this day in and day out. I don't have to fuss with it too much, and there's not a lot of kick up, especially with this black. I love how many different browns are in this. I think it's a great one for fall. So those are the 5 products that I suggest if you want to achieve a copper eyeshadow look for fall. I hope you found something that was for you, and I wanted to show 5 very different items here. Everyone has different needs, and hopefully one of these suited your needs. For example, these are the 2 compact eyeshadow palettes, but they're very different. This one has the pops of color, and this one's a bit more neutral. And then here you have the single eyeshadow, because for some people that's all you really need. And then with the bigger palettes, you have the Born to Run here that has so many other color options to choose from. And then if you wanted to stick to something a little bit more neutral, but you wanted a bigger palette, then the Morphe would be a good one. The last of my fall color series will be coming up next, so stay tuned for that. And I also would love to hear from you guys of these 5 different brands that I talked about. Which eyeshadows do you love? We have here ColourPop, Flower Beauty, BareMinerals, Urban Decay, and Morphe. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate your support, and I will see you guys again in my next upload, which will be the last of the fall color series. Bye.